Hey guys, it's CJ here and I'm back with another video. Today I just wanted to talk about something that plagues us all in modern day, which is the backlog. So 2024 has just started and one of my top priorities from a hobby perspective is to really make a dent on my backlog. For a number of years I've had the habit of not being able to commit to games. I might play them for maybe a day or two, and if they don't hook me, I'll just drop them immediately and move on to something else. And it wasn't until recently I had some self-realization that I couldn't really remember the last game that I committed to and actually completed. Well, to be frank, I did play Spider-Man 2, but in my opinion, I really don't like to count that because games like Spider-Man are more so of a interactive movie experience. So this tendency to not committing to any games, this was further perpetuated by the fact that I had an endless amount of choices. So that would either result in choice paralysis, or I'd find myself playing games that I've already played in the past and playing them because I know that I'll enjoy them. And while I did enjoy those games, it kept me from experiencing all these new titles that have come out in recent years. I knew that I needed to get out of this safe gaming bubble and actually venture out to play brand new games that I hadn't played before. And this has been the case for a number of years. So, which brings us to January, when I did compile a list for my backlog to complete this year. And huge shout out to Orbology for creating such a helpful spreadsheet to help people like us keep ourselves accountable and keep track of our backlog and ensure that we adhere to it. My personal backlog does include both retro and modern titles, and I've been able to complete 4 as of this video. Now, I do want to call out that, as you guys may have already picked up, I'm a huge fan of JRPGs, and this coordinated effort to tackle my backlog is an effort more so to get me back to my roots, because it's been a really long time since I've consistently completed JRPGs. So I'm really just trying to reel myself back into what made me an avid gamer. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this list. So the first game that I completed this year was Secret of Mana. Now, this is a little embarrassing for me to admit because I do consider myself a huge fan of the Mana series, and for me to have just completed Secret of Mana this year is a bit shameful to admit, but nevertheless, it's finally done. I will mention that I had started this game on numerous occasions in the past, but I would just never follow through. And I think the furthest that I got was probably the snow area, and I think that was it. As far as the game itself goes, it is a graphically beautiful game with a variety of environments rich in color and design. The battle system is the action RPG style that the Mana series is known for, with a fluid magic system compared to its successor, Trials of Mana, also known as Seiken Densetsu 3. Soundtrack, absolutely memorable. I would say that my favorite track in the game is Meridian Dance, which is the final boss theme. Final boss is kind of more of a victory lap battle. Those who have played the game know what I mean. For my playthrough, I did commit to playing as Prim. I thought she was really fun to play as, particularly for her weapon, the bare knuckles, where she pretty much just punches and kicks. And occasionally she will suplex enemies, so I thought that was really cool. I kind of avoided playing as Randy just because he is the strongest member of the group, and I wanted to just experience something different because in all my previous incompleted playthroughs, I would always just control Randy. Overall, the game does live up to the hype and reverence as one of the best JRPGs on the SNES. If you haven't played it, do check it out, and if you have a buddy to play with, even better since the game does support 2-player co-op. I've been playing the remake intermittently on the PS Vita, although it is better on the PS4 because unfortunately the PS Vita version does suffer from frame drops, particularly when you are in the vicinity of running water, and I think also when there's a lot of enemies on screen. So I personally recommend the PlayStation 4 version, although as a side note, there is a way to improve the frame rate on the PS Vita version, but you do need to have a modded Vita in order to do that. Now, the second game that I did complete this year is Robotech. It is a SNES RPG, and I would call it a diamond in the rough. It's a turn-based JRPG where you control up to 3 robots robots to do the battling for you. It does have a lot of similarities to Pokemon in terms of aesthetic and other elements, such as when you deploy robots out into the field of battle, they do come out from these white and red spheres. Sound familiar? The game is fun, but it falls short in the sense that the robots lack any uniqueness or personality to them. They are just generic robots at the end of the day that you could customize their stats and their appearance to your liking. Theoretically speaking, you could have 3 fully identical robots. However, that wouldn't be beneficial since you do want to have some versatility in your party. You are able to customize these robots with different weapons such as axes, shields, swords, laser swords, guns, bombs, and gloves for punching as well. I do like that this game was ahead of its time in the sense that you could actually see enemies out in the adventure field, so if you're ever in a situation where you want to avoid enemies, you do have that option, unless an enemy pops out of nowhere, which can happen, but I'd say it happens very few and far in between. All in all, it's a solid JRPG on the SNES. Not a lot of people know about it, and the cart itself is pretty pricey, but if you do have the opportunity to play it, do check it out. Now, the third game that I completed this year is Mother 3. This was another game that I had explored in the past but never fully committed to. Graphically, the game doesn't present anything too praiseworthy, but it does thrive in its emotionally heavy plot, its colorful cast of characters, and humor. Although that the first few chapters of the game do feel a little all over the place. Surprisingly enough, we all know that Lucas is the main character in this game, but you don't really get to play as him until chapter 4. And another gripe that I did have with this game is that some of the characters that you do get to play as early on in the game, they do get sidelined for the rest of the game. I will say the game does do a good job in executing shocking and impressionable twists with one of the major antagonists in the game and the main antagonist as well. As far as the difficulty, it's not a very difficult game. I felt like I did have to grind a few times. I'm not sure if it was absolutely necessary, but if anything, it was just me future-proofing my team. It's definitely worth a playthrough, especially since it's a simple pick-up-and-play RPG. Now, the most recent game that I've completed is Magical Star Sign for the Nintendo DS. Now, this was a game that I picked up back in 2007. I did play it for a bit, but I dropped it almost immediately. And the reason for that was touchscreen. So fast forward to 2024, I handpicked this game to play it and finish it because over the years I did see that a lot of people spoke positively about this game, so I feel like I might have wrote it off prematurely, so I decided to give it another chance. So when I booted it up last month, I quickly realized why I dismissed it, which again was the touchscreens. Me personally, I do not like touchscreen games. I don't like motion controls, so I pretty much stay away from those types of games. Nevertheless, this time around I decided to just stick through it, and I was over the touchscreen controls rather quickly, but again, I really just wanted to push through. The game itself is beautiful aesthetically. What initially drove me to buy it is that it looks similar to Sword of Mana and Legend of Mana. But once I started playing it, I quickly found out that it plays nothing like those games. It is a turn-based JRPG with an emphasis on magic. There is no weapon system, so you do have physical attacks, but they're reduced to simple punching, kicking, slapping, tackling, depending on the character that you execute the move with. And they are pretty situational. You won't find yourself using physical attacks very often unless the enemy has high resistance to magic. Again, the game does have a heavy emphasis on magic, so you'll pretty much be casting magic 90% of the time. And the magic casting is actually one of the things that contributed to me wanting to complete this game as soon as possible. So once you complete your party, you actually control 6 characters. They all get deployed into battle and you have no reserve units. So essentially, you have 6 active fighters all the time, and then you might be facing off against 4 enemies. So this equates to 10 units active in battle. This was one of my biggest complaints of the game, that battles were very slow and drawn out because too many units out in the battlefield. And just imagine going through a cycle of 10 attack animations. In my opinion, that's excessive, so it tried my patience rather quickly. You do have the option of skipping the magic animations for your party members, but this also strips you of the opportunity to enhance your magic attacks. If you tap your character at the right time during their magic animation, it will make the attack stronger, but if you skip it, you don't get that opportunity, so skipping it's not really a good option. All that to say, completing this game was a huge sigh of relief. It wasn't a particularly difficult game, just rather slow paced. Wasn't a fan of the touchscreen. I was just ready to move on. I give the game a 2 out of 5. I'm pretty sure I would have liked it more if it wasn't a touchscreen based game, but it does seem that this game was released early on in the Nintendo DS's life cycle. So those are the 4 games that are completed this year. Right now I'm working on Star Ocean: The Divine Force on the PlayStation 5. I did decide to switch things up a bit since the games that I've been playing previously this year are considered retro. So I wanted to, make a dent on modern games. After Star Ocean, I am eyeing to play Tales of Arise, and there are a few games that I've left unfinished that are near completion, such as Fire Emblem Fates, specifically the Revelation story, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm very close to finishing that, and I probably want to do it soon, especially since Rebirth is due this month. So that's what's on my radar right now. Can't forget the Xenoblade trilogy. That's definitely on my radar to complete as well. So that's it as far as my backlog progress goes. How are you guys doing on your backlogs? How do you guys stay committed? What games are you working on right now? Let me know in the comments. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.